Looking to accelerate your company's digital transformation? Don't miss this special Memorial Day episode with Ben Johnson, the visionary CEO of Particle 41. Ben shares the secrets for building high-performance tech teams and fixing slow systems. You'll learn how to leverage Agile methodologies, AI, and a data-driven approach to get real results. Stay tuned for Ben's actionable insights that you can apply now and speed up your tech innovations. Don't forget to visit our sponsors, pitchdb.com and contentbasis.io. Go ahead, mull it over.
Welcome to Talk Commerce, the podcast where we unpack the world of e-commerce and online marketing. I'm Brent Peterson, and each week we bring you the latest insights and strategies to help your business thrive online. Talk Commerce is produced and supported by contentbasis.io. This podcast is my creative outlet and has been going now for 3 years. We are approaching 1,000 downloads every week and growing. If you are new to this podcast, give it a listen or check out the fantastic content on our website. From exploring effective marketing tactics to dissecting the trends shaping the digital marketplace, we've got you covered, and we're here to guide you through the ever-evolving landscape of e-commerce. But we're not just here to talk, we're here to engage. Got thoughts, questions, or you want to hear a really funny joke? I'd love to hear from you. Email me at brent@talkcommerce.com and let's keep the conversation going. Ready to boost your online presence? Tune in and stay ahead of the curve with Talk Commerce. Don't forget to subscribe for the full experience and share your feedback.
You're listening to Talk Commerce. Subscribe and download at talk-commerce.com.
Welcome to this episode. Today I have Ben Johnson. He's the founder and CEO of Particle 41. And in the green room, he explained to me that they don't make boards for the lumber industry. That was a joke. Sorry about that. Ben, go ahead. Do an introduction for yourself. Tell us your day-to-day role and maybe one of your passions in life.
Yeah, sure. So I'm CEO of Particle 41. We are a global software development consultancy, and I'm super passionate about building high-functioning tech teams. And I'm a serial entrepreneur, so I love growing businesses. My wife says I have hobbypreneurs, which just means that even my hobbies are somehow business related, or ways of making money. Like I own 2 bounce houses and love optimizing the sales funnel for renting out these 2 bounce houses.
Nice. You could optimize the funnel for getting the kids out.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So far, the audience of my bounce houses are, friends and family. But you never know. I could get that random purchase off my Facebook page at some point in time. But yeah, I have a lot of hobbypreneurs.
That's awesome. All right. So before we get into content, you have graciously volunteered to be part of the Free Joke Project. And all you have to do is say, should this joke be free or should we bounce it off the show completely? So here we go. And it's guaranteed to be a really good one. A sweater I purchased was picking up static electricity, so I returned it to the store. They gave me another one free of charge.
Yeah. I don't think that's a keeper. I do think that comes into dad joke territory for sure. Definitely should be on the list. I once had dad jokes on command line. So anytime I needed a dad joke, I could just hit a command line command, and get a dad joke on demand.
Yeah, that reminds me. I think OpenAPI has a database of dad jokes that you can reference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
Right. Perfect. Hey there, it's Brent from Talk Commerce. As an entrepreneur and podcaster, I'm always looking for ways to share my message and connect with new audiences. That's why I was thrilled when I discovered PitchDB, the ultimate tool for getting booked on podcasts. speaking gigs, and media outlets. When I first tried PitchD, I was blown away by the results. I had a 100% response rate from the opportunities I pitched, and I couldn't believe how easy it was to connect with relevant hosts and planners. With over 3 million podcast opportunities, 148,000 event planners, and 31,000 plus media outlets, and 11,000 conferences at my fingertips, I felt like I had struck gold. What I love about PitchDB is how it streamlines the entire booking process. Everything is organized in one place, and I can easily search for meaningful opportunities, directly connect with decision makers, and reach engaged audiences. The integrated portal, ready-to-use templates, and seamless functionality make pitching a breeze. If you're an entrepreneur, speaking coach, or author looking to expand your reach and make a bigger impact, I highly recommend giving PitchDB a try. Head over to pitchdb.com and see for yourself how this incredible tool can transform your booking game. Trust me, you won't be disappointed.
All right, well, let's talk about things more meaningful to business owners. In our green room, I asked you what OKR means. So let's start there.
So I think what separates an entrepreneur from just about anything else is being purposeful with how you're planning your business. So OKRs are a framework for goal setting. It's one thing to say, hey, I have this. I did, when I learned about OKRs, I actually put my family through them. I know I would probably get charged for child abuse in some cultures. But what I did is I asked, hey, what is it that you guys want to achieve? And then how do you know you're getting there? And so my oldest son at the time, he said, I want to be a professional video game person. Like, okay, cool. How are you going to measure that? How do you know you're becoming? I understand that's what you want to be, or you want to achieve that goal. That's your objective, but how are you going to know if you're getting there or not? And so he came up with the key result of, well, if I'm playing competitively rather than casually, then I'm at least making some progress or some attempt at being a professional video game person. So he started tracking the number of hours he spent in a competitive league versus the number of hours he was clocking with friends goofing off. And so that would be the objective. The objective is to be a professional video game person. And the key result is I'm going to go from 0 hours of non-professional play to Y number of hours of professional play. That would be your key result. So in business, we talk a lot about KPIs. We talk about how to measure the business. OKRs are just a way of kind of succinctly putting all that together in objective key result. And then you have about 3 to 5 as a high level for the high level company. And then each department may cascade down from there how they're going to measure their progress towards those objective key results. For example, you may say, hey, I want to sell 1,000 more widgets. That's your high level one. Sales may look at that and say, well, if we're gonna sell 1,000 more widgets, then we really need to see that we're getting 10,000 leads a month. So they may talk to the marketing department, and then you may see this other goal of like, hey, we want to do 10,000. We want to collect 10,000 leads a month in order to hit our goal of selling 1,000 widgets. So it brings a data-driven culture to the organization to do your goals in this way. And I've just loved working with executive teams and showing them this method. SMART goals are an analogy, a very like adjacent style. And I would really recommend, like, you can read Measure What Matters, which is the kind of the OKR book. And then SMART goals are also there. They're both saying, hey, let's make our goals measurable and figure out where we are and where we're going to. It's a common thing. And I think OKRs just get a little more specific about the data-drivenness and the purposefulness of the goals with the measurement, the objective with the key result. And so learning from that, even if you decide to do a little more React style with SMART goals, that learning how to be so data-driven would be helpful.
Yeah, so I'm a big EOS person, and a lot of the
Hmm.
listeners are very familiar with EOS. So OKR would be very similar to a store card item, and obviously the goal would be your not maybe be your rock for the quarter. Is that how you'd frame it?
Yeah, yeah, that's the EOS terms are great. I didn't learn about this stuff through EOS, but I am familiar. And yeah, your like yellow, green, red ranges would all be kind of symbolized by your OKRs exactly.
Is there a complete framework wrapped around this, similar to what EOS, like an open source framework that you can implement, or is it? I mean, I've read Traction. I haven't read the book you mentioned earlier, but I
Measure
am
what
interested.
matters. Yeah, measure what matters is I don't remember the author. He helped Google with this back in the day. So definitely in the software world we hear a lot about measure what matters in OKRs. Lattice is a piece of software that will help you even more so with some of the cascading. Um, EOS is so great and versatile for like anything from small business beyond. But Measure What Matters is totally worth the read because it tells good stories. And I always like business books that tell good stories.
Yeah, I knew that Google had their own sort of framework, so this is the framework that Google would hang on to for their business operating system.
That's right.
Yeah, nice. So tell us a little bit about Particle 41 and how that fits in with what you're doing.
Yeah, so Particle 41 has four major service lines. We have C2 advisory, software development, and we're especially good at application modernization. So, like right now, we're working on a COBOL mainframe, bringing it into the modern age. Um, but application development ranges from mobile apps. We work on applications for VR headsets, just a very wide range of applications that we work on. We also do DevOps and then data science. Of course, everybody's buzzing about AI, and we have several active AI projects going on. What we do is put together really good tech teams, and a lot of folks think of outsourcing software development as the asset of manpower, like, hey, I just need some more bodies. But we really take pride in being the asset of skill. So we help a lot of companies with skills gaps. And that's where kind of the DevOps and data science come in. Yeah. So we've been doing this for about since 2014. But I'm a serial entrepreneur, and I always had a partner that was on um, on the outsourced software engineering side, and then eventually he and I partnered up, and we've been kind of combining that C2 advisory and boardroom expertise with the real specialized software development expertise for a while.
I just got done with a fractional CTO gig, and the biggest thing that I learned and was I think was what I was able to sort of impart to the client was leaving a good system in place, what I did, what I feel like I contributed most was just the agile work process and having a way of like a third party development company was a vendor, um, making them work in the system that the client wanted rather than making the client work in the vendor system. How do you work with that if a client has a different idea of how they want to do software development to how you do software development?
Yeah, I think we're definitely uh, opinionated. Opinionated may come across as stubborn. I don't think we're stubborn, but definitely opinionated in that we need to have a work list. That work list needs to be processed iteratively. We don't want to have big bangs. So there's some principles that we're fairly opinionated on. We love Jira as kind of a tool of choice for managing work. But at the end of the day, we have seen a lot of diversity, and if the client doesn't have something, then we'll express our opinions and recommendations. If the client does have something, then obviously we don't want to break, or we don't want to break what's not broken or fix. You get my
Yeah.
point.
um It oftentimes that I've found, especially with legacy clients, probably the ones that are on Cobalt, like they may insist they want to work in an agile format, I mean in a waterfall format, but then they want to get started right away and they don't want to do a bunch of pre-planning. They just want to get going, which is in effect going to be agile. And a lot of times it's just how you name it with the client. How do you manage that process of maybe it's just nomenclature on what words you're using and how they're running their system?
Yeah, so I kind of think of it as on the executive side, we definitely want to understand what is the commercial outcome. Executives love to see something that looks like a roadmap or a Gantt chart where there's a start and an end and some diamonds where things are kind of coming around. The reality is nobody knows that up front exactly how that's going to play out, but we at least need to visualize the goal and so everybody can be associated with the mission. This part of the visualization, like, hey, we're going to work for 8 months and we're going to have a release of all this functionality, that starts to feel very waterfally to folks. But I think the iterative process, so if you're working in 2-week sprints, the agile process, you still have to be kind of aiming at something, aiming at a commercial result or a commercial target. And so we kind of have those two things working in tandem where we've said, hey, what's the schedule? I call it the schedule that you want, and get that from the executives. Like, what's the outcome you're trying to generate? And then with the tech team who wants to work iteratively and stay away from big bang result sets, then we align to that. But I think both those things are very important. You can't try to be so purely agile that you're not committing to an outcome, say 3, 4, how many ever sprints down the road. And by doing that, I feel like we've come up with a really good balance of saying, we do understand that you need a commercial result, but we also need to discover as we go and work towards that commercial result through iteration.
In EOS, there's a way of saying, here's my three. This is what sets me apart from my competition. Typically there's three things that set you apart. My three uniques. What makes Particle 41 unique from the competition?
I think it's so our three core values really line up to that. We want to first act in a very visible way. So what that looks like is everybody posts what they do kind of a virtual stand-up. What did I work on today? Making every day count and being highly visible. So we train our teams, and our teams really adopted this idea of like, hey, I'm proactively communicating. I'm telling you what I'm working on. And we're very flat in that way. We don't funnel information through a single person and have them deliver the TPS report once a week. So visibility is super important to us. And then velocity, we know that market competition and speed to market are kind of like two factors. The customer needs their things. The customer is the constant. So velocity and moving quickly is super important to us. And then vision. Vision is the third thing. And that's really, vision is the right solution for the proper stage of the company. So vision is acting with quality, building a quality system, but not so much so that you build the perfect system and by the time you're done with it, the market opportunity has already passed. So we really pride ourselves in the correct vision for the solution that matches the company's needs and the market demand. And so we're really having that good vision. And we feel like if we do all three of those V's, we have a cheeky thing where, V cubed equals D, and the D is dependability. We want to be, if there's one thing we want to be known for, that's just being a dependable tech partner and doing what we say we will do.
Sometimes I wish tech salespeople would skip we're going to get this done and whatever you need to get it done. And the client then says, okay, we're happy to get it done in 6 months. Like I think that I love the way that you're framing that we're going to have an iterative approach and we're going to get something to market quicker. it'll be a minimum product, but we're going to get it to market quicker and you can start using it so you don't miss out on that opportunity that's there already. I think that's such a great approach.
Yeah, one of my favorite clients is Forte. Forte is definitely worth checking out. It's a online music lesson marketplace. And so you can grab an award-winning teacher and they can show you how to play piano or violin. So you can have access to like a teacher that's been trained in Juilliard, but you could be sitting in the Midwest enjoying a music lesson. And their first initial prototype was like 90 days, so that we could honor some LOIs that they had with some music schools and help them through the COVID process, and try it out and see. So we had an in-lesson experience available for them, with earlier versions internally, even at the 30 and 60 day mark. But we were ready to go live in 90 for a limited use case, but a use case nonetheless, and really find out like which devices it was working well with, which browsers, and then iterate from there. So they were successful in launching a stopgap measure for COVID, and we were able to deliver something really quickly.
Um, I love that, and I'm really wanting to learn the ukulele. I know how to play piano already, but the ukulele is one thing I'd like to do. And as an older person, it's always hard to find, number one, the time, and then the fingers to make it work. I can read music, but anyways, so having said that, how do you then help make sure that that whole process is optimized for the tech team?
Well, I think the optimization goes into a set of playbooks and standards and reference architectures. We don't want to be operating based off our own understanding. I mean, the internet's been getting iterated on for 20 years, 30 years. And so there are a lot of patterns and lessons. And so this idea of looking for the best practice or the pattern, before implementing, and then collecting those in a community of knowledge, is really important in our industry, and having those playbooks and things for people to leverage. So it's not a Google search every time. There are people in our organization that have done these things, and we're collecting this book of knowledge and sharing it with folks. And because you just don't need to start from scratch and rediscover all the lessons that are already readily available, even within our 100 people, 115 people. Even many of the people in our group have the scar tissue to say, hey, this is why we do microservices this way. This is why we use these frameworks. And just to give people that quick jump of learning to solve the problem accurately.
I interviewed the CEO of Etex last year, and he talked a lot about making merchants or vendors work within the system that's there to save money, rather than trying to make it custom, where you're going to spend 90% to gain 10%. How do you educate the client on using a framework versus writing the entire thing custom, using something that already exists as a plugin to a system rather than writing it custom? How do you work through that?
Yeah, no, that's one of my favorite things. There's two pieces of this that are in our CTO advisory. One is we have a periodic table of business tools. Think of this as like, we kind of lay out a map. Like, everybody probably needs a CRM of some sort. Everybody needs an accounting system of some sort, like a QuickBooks or a Xero accounting or whatever it is. You probably need email. So you're either Gmail or Microsoft. You're probably using some kind of internal message. So we map all that out, and we kind of figure out the lay of the land in terms of there's tool categories, like your liquids, solids, gases, this kind of thing. And to kind of talk about that IT stack first and say, hey, these are things you already have. And then to set that next to a model of high need versus high value. So high need things, generally high need things are well established in the market. I don't know anybody who's going to go make their own email server or make their own computer and host it in their garage, or there's just certain things that are so necessary, like having a computer for things to run on, having a place to store files. These kind of things, they exist. And so those are like your high need things. And when we have high need, so I put that at the bottom of the diagram, those things we just want to partner really well, pick the best of breed, top right corner of the Gartner reference chart. And then as we move up towards high value. And so the highest value things, generally speaking, are the things that make us different between our brand and the customer. These are where customization is probably the most needed. I've seen a few people go grab like a off-the-shelf product, like a Salesforce or these types of tools, and try to customize those all the way to the customer. And that's usually where there's some rub. There'll be some limitations. I can't quite get it to be perfect for the customer. I can't, so that's where we start to talk about, hey, this is probably the place where we want to invest the most. We can integrate and customize some of those platform type of things like Salesforce or NetSuite or whatever, but let's not put that all the way out and just, put all the eggs in the basket of customization and partnering. Let's leave a little bit of room for the truly custom so that we can give that user exactly what they want and truly be different in the market. And so we talk about that, the user experience, and maybe around that user experience layer, we should be as custom as we can be.
We haven't talked about AI, and you mentioned AI earlier, but do you think that AI is making it easier to develop or making it more difficult because maybe the client is trying to do some ChatGPT coding on the side?
I think it's really important for developers to understand what they're doing. What is the code that I'm writing? Even just helping to write messaging with AI. You can't kind of get lazy, intellectually lazy, in either respect, with the written communication or with the coding, like a Copilot type of environment. It is saving keystrokes, like to get meeting notes, to be able to kind of work with an AI on some brainstorming. A great tool. But we just can't fall asleep at the wheel. And the early adopters who have done that, the lawyer who used AI to write the brief and ended up arguing like a hallucinated case, gets disbarred. I think that, like, we're still going to be accountable for our output. But in much the same way, calculator helped with math, I do think that AI will continue to help with writing, and I'm enjoying using it in that way. But the attention to detail will still have to be there, and you'll still have to very much know what it is that you're doing. In software, you got to be willing to go deep and think those 3-4 moves ahead, and be willing to have that intellectual focus. AI is not going to prevent software developers from having to do that.
Yeah, I mean, that's such a good point, and I like what you said, to be accountable to the output. And right now, I feel as though people are really getting stuck in a corner. They're letting things run just on their own, and sometimes that output is garbage. A lot of times right now, its output is just written, a tweet or a blog post. But like you said, the lawyer who argued a brief but didn't edit what he had written via whatever ChatGPT, that is a real danger, and you are accountable to that output. If you're looking into 2024, do you see that AI getting exponentially better still in some of these areas?
I don't know. We're finding when we apply AI, we're finding that we're narrowing it. It's helping us arrive at what we want the program to do. And like we're realizing what we want the program to do. And then we're trying to use AI to do it. We're getting some sloppiness because the AI source information is so wide. And then we're kind of coming back around to a more literal solution. So I think a lot of folks that are saying, oh, let's use AI for that are going to, they're going to learn something from the failure that AI could really help with this. And then they're going to go like, okay, no, we're just going to have to program this 5-step process in the most literal way so that we can get the accuracy that we wanted. So I think that's just going to be, people will try to apply the AI models and then either narrow it so much so that they just come up with a straightforward solution. And I think we're still very much at the beginning for how it's going to be applied and how it'll be leveraged. But the learning set is so wide that I don't know how, like in the legal case, which is another use case we're working on, we're really narrowing it down to say, hey, this is a set of contracts that we've written. We want to output contracts like this. Take that very narrow set, and then by the end of the day, you're basically saying, well, you should have just written this paragraph. Here's the paragraph. Just write this one every time. So I don't know if that made sense, but the narrowing is a thing where you're almost arriving back at a literal solution rather than a generated one, a thought about.
Yeah, I would agree that using the use cases right now, anyways, more of a take small little pieces to get you some help rather than trying to do the whole thing in one big chunk. And I can definitely say that, the hallucinations and things like that happen. And even in the text to voice, my experience has been later on in that longer conversation, the text to voice gets lazy and it maybe starts mispronouncing words that in the beginning it said the right way. So I think there's a lot of things to come down the line.
Sure.
So as I close out the podcast, I give everybody a chance to do a shameless plug. What would you like to plug today?
Oh, shameless plug. I would just say if you're a business owner or entrepreneur and you want to collaborate on anything, say you did a digital transformation back in 2015 that's starting to shoot sparks. One of the things we say is we fix slow. So if something's going on, whether it be slow team delivery or slow applications, we love to people help fix slow. So look me up. I'm very easy to find on LinkedIn, and you can book an appointment with me straight through our website at particle41.com. I love to collaborate, so don't be afraid to reach out.
That's great. I'll make sure I get those contact details in the show notes. Ben Johnson, the CEO and founder of Particle 41. Thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, thanks, man. It's fun.
Talk Commerce is a production of Content Basis LLC. For more creative content, go to contentbasis.io.